Hello and welcome to the Crypto Beat. My name's Tim Copeland and I'm the head of growth at The Block. Joining me today, we have the co-founder of MetaMask, Dan Finlay. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Hey, Tim. Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Amazing. Before we get started, just a quick note. If you are hiring in crypto, you should check out Campus. Out of all of your candidates, it will help you pick out the real crypto natives. Head to theblock.co/campus to get a 3-month free trial. Now, today's episode is all about crypto wallets and the Ethereum ecosystem. But I want to start with, Dan, you've been in the crypto industry a long time. Looking back at sort of your entire time in the industry, how do you think the space has changed over the years?
Oh, well, it's changed immeasurably. Like it went from being a thing that very, very few people had heard of, let alone had any grasp of what it did or how it worked, or let alone had ideas about what it could do. To now, it's like now there's like a battleground of narratives. There's like so many ideas and visions of what it could do or what it could be, and even just mental models of what it's good for. So I think that we're the technology has matured so far, and yet, I think people are still really, really fighting just with much more force and much larger populations about what exactly it's going to be good for and how we're going to be using it.
Yeah, it does seem like there's an awful lot of projects fighting for arguably like a small number of sort of dedicated users. Do you get that impression?
Yeah, I think it varies. Like projects can choose to kind of fight for the existing crypto group, and I think that there's I don't want to be too sour on it, but like preying on people who have money already is one business strategy, and it's enjoyed by scammers among others. I have kind of always approached this with a mindset of like we're trying to build something that's for a much bigger audience, and so the current users, like I think can sometimes feel a little neglected while we build out what we identify as longer term infrastructure, stuff that's not just necessary to make apps marginally better, but the changes that are needed to kind of enable long term transformation that this technology is really capable of. So you can take it either way, and I think there are really teams that do both. You can fight for existing mindshare, or you can try to grow the pie. And I think there's a lot of pie to grow. I think we're still, despite how big in kind of financial prominence crypto is, I think there's a lot of pie to grow, but there's a lot of legitimacy to gain. I think from people that are not in crypto, there's a kind of sour perception of it. There's a lot of taking advantage of people, not as many constructive things as there could be.
And what's your strategy? I mean, I assume you have quite a lot. I mean, you have a large market share already, so I assume you're more focused on new users as opposed to existing ones. I was curious on your strategy in that regard.
Yeah. There is like a saying that I sometimes repeat, which is like when you're an underdog, you try to take a bigger slice of the pie, and when you're the bigger dog, then you try to grow the pie. I really think everybody could grow the pie, but yeah, we're definitely in a position where we have enough Web3 market share that it would be very unproductive for us to be trying to take it from other crypto wallets or something. So we have to be talking about and thinking about really transformative uses, and not just like slightly more engaging uses for the existing crypto users, but like uses that actually would justify usage for people who are not interested in crypto today. Um, and yeah, that involves everything from, like, of course, people like pointing out the friction. So that means you need to eliminate like the barriers of either it's key backup or getting crypto to pay for gas and things like that, and all the complexity and the unreadability of transactions, um, all the way up to like the usefulness, the actual utility. Like, what's it good for? Is it just good for speculating on meaningless things, or is this actually a better way to manage something of value, something of real value? Is this a way to run a company? Is this a way to start a neighborhood organization? Is this a way to run your group chat? Like um, until normal people are reaching for these tools, not thinking crypto, but thinking like this is a great product. This is giving me opportunity I didn't have before. Then we have not remotely realized the opportunity in front of us.
Are there any use cases that you find particularly interesting that you think will appeal to a much more sort of normie audience?
Yeah. I think that there are countless opportunities for use cases that will appeal to normie audiences. I think that for one thing, um, making it easier to monetize the things that you do, like even in small scales. I think monetizing content, monetizing creations, um, tapping into a larger larger marketplaces without them just having predatory control over your distribution mechanism. Um, and also, yeah, like starting companies, DAOs, things where you're sharing profits and benefits. I think that that's all really, really ripe opportunity, although it's got more kind of legally ambiguous implications. Um, so so yeah, I think that the way that people earn and spend money are kind of both up for grabs. Like I think that there's a strong sense that the way we structure things today is just severely broken. I mean, look, like with AI and everything, everybody's afraid for their jobs in the next, you know, who knows how many years, maybe 10 years if you're optimistic. Um, so how are we deciding who gets what? All those questions are critical, and I think that having having immutable, transparent representations of value is a fantastic bedrock for that. And I think that individuals kind of starting collectives, cooperatives, small companies around the value they can create, I think is a good kind of atom in that larger organism.
What crypto projects have you been playing around or testing or experimenting with recently?
I tend to look at things that help people crowdfund new value. I was looking at one that's helping crowdfund around property for affordable housing. It's called Purpose for Profit. I mean, I obviously use like I use Warpcast and like the current kind of crypto heavy applications. But a lot of those are it's kind of like the crypto crowd having fun with itself for right now. So I'm kind of looking for things that unlock additional opportunity. I try to find things that are either extending capital to new groups or are helping groups kind of gather their capital in new ways. And I don't think any of these have gotten quite smooth enough to go mainstream yet, but that's kind of the domain I kind of watch out for.
And MetaMask have been doing a similar thing with your grants program. How's that been going? I don't think there's been a grant in a while.
There was a grant kind of recently. It's yeah, it's a grant program that we use largely to fund things that we know will help the ecosystem that we're concerned the ecosystem will not fund otherwise. Um, I think that, there's a lot of talk about the kinds of public goods where you kind of just meter everybody's awareness. I think that there's also great value in specialization and expertise. And, we've developed some expertise in some domains of computing over here at MetaMask where we know things that are critically underfunded that nobody else is looking at. So we just recently gave a grant to the Sprightly Networked Communities Foundation. They're building a sort of mesh social media protocol. It's kind of hard to describe succinctly, but they've got a really wonderful paper called the Heart of Sprightly paper, and I think it along with some of the work we've been doing at Agoric through some other grants. I think has a really great opportunity to be a foundation of a alternative web. So blockchains being great for representing value, but when you're representing information and you don't need things on chain, but you do need things with selective authorization, like privacy or um, or like write access, things like that. A lot of the current like Twitter clones, they clone Twitter to such an extreme case that they kind of reinvent all of its problems, like moderation, brigading, bots, and these problems all kind of come from trying to create a public square. Sprightly and Endo are both doing. They're both trying to build privacy first distributed protocols, and we think it's really useful. We're funding it largely because we recognize that it's going to enable some really great flexibility for our own internal architecture. We think we're going to be able to build a really dynamic, distributed, flexible wallet. You may be familiar that MetaMask has an extension system called Snaps. So we've got a little sandbox in the wallet, and so it's technically an operating system. But the way that these extensions work right now is just via RPC calls, which is like pretty rigid, and it means you kind of can only ask for the permissions that exist already. With one of these kind of object capability systems, we'll be able to create a very dynamic mesh of permissions between all of the extensions. and those extensions could exist off the user's device. And so that's when things I think are going to start getting really interesting. I think there's some serious Cambrian explosion opportunity there, and it all enables the faster acceleration and experimentation of all this other stuff, right? Um, all the problems we have with Web3 largely relate to navigating a permissionless ecosystem. How do you read it? How do you trust it? How do you find links that are credible? Who do you trust? What are the projects you want to fund? And so sourcing credible information, I don't think will always look like a public square thing. I think public square ends up looking a lot like a couple influencers gaining the public ear, directing them towards questionable investments until they lose favor, and then that on loop, basically. I think preserving the social graph, which means often privacy and selective disclosure, is going to be a very big unlock that people just aren't really experiencing yet, other than in kind of small group chats.
And in terms of building up MetaMask, what has been the hardest part of your job over the years?
Hmm. Yeah, so I mean, building software is hard, and building a scaling organization as that software gets more complicated is also hard. Also, I think that getting perspective of the hard problems that we have and then kind of getting a team acquainted with an approach to those is particularly challenging. So, but we've somehow found a way to find a balance where we're kind of doing our best to balance the two horns of make a sustainable business and attack these long-term problems. And it's our it's our game to lose there, but we're doing our very best to do it. And we have an organization designed to navigate that balance. And crypto's had a little bit of rough recent times, but we're hoping that some of the kind of recent enthusiasm helps build some momentum that we can ride through some really critical evolutions.
Hmm. How many employees do you have now?
Who I do not know offhand. I think it's around 500, let's say, for all of consensus. On MetaMask itself, it's the product might be it's less than that.
MetaMask is obviously, the sort of most dominant crypto wallet. But what's your plan to keep up with competitors that have maybe, it's fair to say, better user experiences?
Sure. Yeah, that's the always the eternal question that we get being in this position. Yeah, so I mean, people can decide what's a better user experience for them for any reason, and there's always going to be somebody who's going to experiment with a particular different approach. And the world's a laboratory, and people are going to try a lot of different things, and we're going to learn from some of those things, and some of those things might move faster than us. I think that very early on, we recognized that we were competing in a permissionless space, and there was going to be very, very rapid, hot competition. Like we recognized that around 5 years ago. We were like the only game in town, and we said, you know what? There's going to be insane competition. It's going to be impossible to keep up with this as a single shop. Um, other wallets that were kind of getting an early start started trying to build every chain integration in themselves, and we said trying to build every integration for every protocol in a permissionless ecosystem will be impossible. So that's why we began very early on building an extension system. And it's been gaining a lot of maturity this year in particular. And I mean, it's still not where I want it. I mean, I just described to you some ways that I think will make it just like a apples and oranges, different programming experience. But I think that we've been laying the groundwork for a more kind of uh, collaboratively community built wallet. I think it's just a different way to build a wallet. Um, it wouldn't surprise me if in some time frame, some wallets have what people call like a better user experience for the current feature set, kind of the current meta, right? It's like, wow, for the uses of meme coin trading, this is just smoother. This is like, but you know, wait 6 months when people get sick of that, they kind of did with NFTs or yield farming or social tokens or I don't know, like we've seen waves here, right? It's like if there's one trend I would emphasize to people is that like we are still experimenting, and what is good UX for one use case is not necessarily what is the ideal UX for managing digital value in general. So we're trying to build our wallet into kind of a framework for evolving with people, and it takes a different approach, and it does mean things can be a little bit they can be rougher along the way. It means we do move slower in many ways, but it means we're moving really cautiously and really flexibly. And so yeah, it's kind of it's a different strategy.
I know you're doing this. I think or you're planning this for your mobile app. But do you plan on switching up the UX in the extension so that you see sort of tokens across all chains rather than having to manually switch between each blockchain network?
Yes, indeed. In fact, have we not shipped that just yet? Oh yes, yes. Okay, so yeah, we're you're right. We haven't done that yet. But yes, we're working on that. You might have noticed we've made a number of UX improvements recently, and and some of them involve things like showing the icon of a network along an asset. When you go to our portfolio view, you see assets along many networks. No, wait, I was just looking at a account that didn't have many networks. Hold on. Yeah, no, we already do that. Of course, we already do that. Yeah, sorry. Yes, we've been doing that for I think like a month and a half. So you can use the network switcher still as like a filter, but we have a multi-network view, and we're increasingly the key thing that we're doing now is we're working on making it so you don't just see your many Ethereum networks. We're working on making it so you'll be able to see the assets you have on networks that you add via our extensions like snaps. So very soon that'll include Solana and Bitcoin, and many others. Cosmos. We got. I mean, you can go to snaps.metamask.io, and you've got like I don't know, nearing 100 different extensions, many of them being different blockchains. And part of the goal is that as you go to a new site, if it uses a new blockchain, they can just propose the snap that you need to view those assets. And so it'll just kind of be in stride. You won't think about, does my wallet support this? It'll just be like, hey, to view this, you're going to need to have this in your wallet. And it's going to be like putting a bill in your wallet. It's like, you don't ask if your wallet can hold yen. You're just like, it's a piece of paper, you put it in. That's kind of how we think it should work.
Okay. How impactful do you think the Pectra upgrade has been on Ethereum's user experience?
Well, I think it's just started to scratch the surface. I think I would almost say it's done some proof of concept-y things so far. So what's cool about my favorite thing about the Pectra upgrade is it lets us seamlessly upgrade our existing EOA users to smart accounts. And the first smart method that we're exposing is just batching transactions. It's like kind of simple. It's like low hanging, but it's well defined. And there was an EIP already defining it, or an ERC. And so, yeah, we shipped day one of Pectra supporting batch transactions. And so now dApps that request batch transactions will prompt the user to have a batch, or if they haven't upgraded to a smart account yet, it'll just ask them if they want to also include the gas to upgrade it's to sign an authorization method that turns their account into a smart account via EIP 7702. And yeah, so that's nice. That solves the old approve and spend issue where people say, oh, you go to an app and you have to approve an allowance and then you have to approve a transaction. Okay, well now we can make that one transaction, and that's good, and that's an improvement. We're also very soon going to have where you can pay in other tokens, and that's great. That's a big improvement too. We our numbers say something like 40% of dApp interactions get blocked by somebody not having the native network token. So that could that'll start to chomp at that 40% of slippage. But longer term, I think it's going to do even more. I think we're going to completely change how we connect to dApps entirely. I think the connect button, the trying to read transactions, the having multiple approvals, I think that's all going away. I think we're going to have totally free and instant permissions where you can customize your terms when you connect to an app. And yeah, this is a ERC 7715 that we've been working on. And actually, when you upgrade to get a batch transaction in MetaMask today, you get, there's like a link out that explains more. You're getting upgraded to this smart account that we've been working on that allows you to issue open-ended permissions. And this is going to be good for all sorts of stuff. Like, so session key like experiences, yes, but also perhaps having some limited things you can do from a cold wallet without digging out your hardware wallet, or maybe being able to act on behalf of a DAO without having to get all the signers together, or maybe being able to give an AI agent some limited permissions, and maybe that agent being able to spin up sub agents with their own, increasingly restricted permissions. There's subsets of that permission. Um, I think we're about to unlock just insane amounts of kind of convenient, powerful usage. It's a pattern of usage that I've been wanting to bring to Ethereum for like 5 years or something. And yeah, so uh, yeah, I'm really looking forward to bring that. I think that it's the question is, what should a smart account do, right? And I think let you do what you want and have bit more control over it. Have kind of a programmable account. Your account shouldn't be something that's just like responding to apps and then letting you say yes or no. It should be like a conversation agent on your behalf.
What's the time frame on the sort of two EIPs that you're pushing forward? Like when do you think they could get implemented?
We've been working on them right now, and we've got a hackathon where devs can try them right now, running over at gator.metamask.io. You can find that. Um, I think that we're probably going to have that in production by end of Q2. Um, but yeah, it's one of the most ambitious things that we've done in terms of like improvements to the API that the wallet is giving to apps. Like the every other improvement by comparison is like a small bit of polish. It's like a slightly more readable signature, or fewer clicks but the same number of confirmations. Like um everything else has been uh basically just polish on top of the existing pattern. But here we're going to let you actually stay private, be selective, be clear about what you're approving, always retaining readability, not relying on external services. I think it's just going to open up a totally new era. Oh, and it's also super friendly to embedded accounts. So the whole pattern where a website should basically have an account in it where it doesn't need to ask for confirmations. It's a great pattern, and it's obviously wonderful UX when you're in that app. But as soon as you want to move between apps, you start getting this kind of like ice cube tray effect where you're like, oh, I'm stuck in this one. Now I have to like withdraw and then move and then deposit. Right. It's like chain abstraction all over again, but for sites. So what now we need site abstraction or something? I don't know. Nobody's talking about this. They're like, oh, maybe the answer is to have passkeys on a third party domain, but then you just have to ask for all your transactions from that domain, and you've just reinvented MetaMask, but on an iframe. That's not actually a solution to the problem. What we're making is a open-ended permission system so that you can actually share permissions between domains. So domains can have their own unique permissions, their own unique assets that they create, but still selectively share those assets between other sites and other wallets that then it can connect to other sites, Telegram bots, whatever. So yeah, I think we're building a kind of substrate for just interconnecting everything a whole lot more.
Nice. And I was looking at like the numbers and the volume on MetaMask swaps. Unless my calculations are wrong, it seems like you've made over $300 million in total based on sort of $37 billion of volume. Has that made MetaMask a completely sustainable product?
Not yet. Like, yeah, yeah, nope. Unfortunately not. So we're doing our best. We're trying to come up with creative solutions to this game. I think sometimes people think that crypto's a wallets are a solved game, and if they could just do what MetaMask's doing, they'd be solved. But no, things get trickier at scale. So yeah, not yet.
Do you anticipate adding any other revenue generating tools within the wallet?
Oh yeah, we've got a bunch of revenue generating tools in the wallet. And we're kind of trying to find what is the right balance of like giving value to users and something that they want to use. So, you can stake Ether in the wallet. We've got the MetaMask card now, so you can have this metal credit card that you can spend in real life, and it's actually got competitive rewards, and you can spend directly from a yield bearing token and stuff. So we actually get paid a bit for that, which is amazing because you're actually getting a better deal than you get with most credit or debit cards or banks. Um, so if enough people use that, maybe that'll be the trick. We've got bridging services, and we're trying to increasingly abstract away the multi-chain experience, and we get a small fee for that. And yeah, we're just doing all sorts of work trying to we're bundling users transactions. We take them, we keep them. we keep them out of the public mempool so that they're not prone to MEV. That allows us to also backrun transactions. In theory, we can make some revenue that way too. So yeah, we're trying what we can, seeing what sticks. Um, and yeah, there's lots of things to try because this space is so open ended.
How's the uptake on the card been?
Um, Good so far. I should have brushed up on the stats. We're only in pilots right now for the UK, the US, Europe, and Latin America. But we're hoping to expand that dramatically soon. So sorry, sorry, it's not yet, but soon.
And you mentioned about yield assets. Do you think we're moving away from sort of meme coins towards what some are calling like a fundamental season, a bit more focused on sort of yield producing assets?
I mean, everybody's going to do their own thing. I'm sure that some people are still having fun with meme coins. That's to their own. I would love to see fundamentals. To me, fundamentals would imply like the economy actually transitioning to these tools. The more things that are substantial that are using these tools, the better. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. I think there will be plenty of fun in kind of imaginary currency, and I think a lot of potential in it too. But until we're like affecting the real world, like we're kind of just I don't know, playing with the exit liquidity of new entrants or something, right? Like I think if you want something really sustainable, you need to be fueling development of new value. So that's I hope we are entering a fundamental season.
Yeah, and while this obviously sort of fluctuates with the cycles, do you see more people actively using crypto on a day-to-day basis now compared to, sort of 2 to 3 years ago? Like, I'm curious how things have shifted.
I mean, I think adoption is spiky. So people right now are using crypto way less than they were 2 or 3 years ago during the height of those, respective seasons. Um, but we're probably at higher usage than the lulls of those times. So I think we kind of see this like jaggedy rise is kind of I think the general shape of it. Now we've been in a little bit of a trough right now, and I think it's been giving some people a bit of existential concern. But I think that there's a lot of reason to believe that there's real utility here. It's just you have to kind of crack open new use cases to get to the next level.
Yeah, it's been weird with sort of Bitcoin at all-time highs, but everything else sort of seemingly struggling. So it's not quite the same euphoria as we've seen in previous cycles.
Yeah. Yeah, I would probably be in more of a crisis of faith if I wasn't every day building what I think is the next chapter, you know. But yeah, I put my faith in my actions.
Has MetaMask been experimenting with AI at all?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, we've been also I mean, who isn't, at the very least, it'd probably be impossible to not accidentally use the AI these days. So, at the very least, helping draft specs, draft some code, um, wrapping some of our internal services and wallet capabilities and, turning them into AI agent tools. We've been experimenting with all that kind of stuff and I think, it's obvious that AI agents, people are going to have AI agents that can act on their behalf. They'll be able to use wallets. Um, should that be in the wallet? We'll probably have an interface to do it in the wallet, but you'll probably also want to give a wallet to your agent. And when you do that, you might not want to give everything to the agent at once. You might want to kind of ease into empowering the agent because you might not trust it all the way at first. The same way you do with an investment advisor or something, right? And that's part of why kind of our permission system is going to play in very nicely. I think all of this stuff we're going to have tools and agents in both directions. So we're going to give wallets to agents, we're going to give agents to wallets. But all of those things are going to ultimately be constrained by how carefully they can make selective agreements with each other. And I think we're building a fabric for that. So yeah, we're doing all sorts of stuff, having a great time playing with Cursor, Claude Code, Windsurf, you know, um, some of the open models. A lot of fun. It's really cool stuff. We're trying to build a good LLM documentation for all of our new modules. So if you go to our, like for example, our new delegation framework, that smart account, if you want to try to write an app for it, you go to gator.metamask.io and we have an LLMs.txt file, which is just like a nice clean prompt to give to an AI. And I think that Cursor and Claude Code automatically discover it when they're traversing our page. So things like that, I call it a DevRel for LLMs. I think those are all going to be just increasingly critical. The more of that we can do, the less we can be writing rote code, and the more time we can spend figuring out, the meaningful code to write.
Are you looking at making it possible for AI agents to directly integrate with MetaMask? Like, are you considering building out those sorts of integrations?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Right now, MetaMask is basically a browser extension and a mobile app. So there's not really a hosted thing for agents to talk to. Um, but if you wanted a user to be able to make a connection to an app, to an agent, right? The agent would need some kind of API by which to talk to the wallet. And well, what do you know? We've got a platform for experimenting on new ways to talk to the wallet. It's our Snaps extension system. So, for example, I've actually got one Snap I've been toying with on the side where I'm experimenting making a kind of user custodial AI agent where you can you can load in as many LLMs as you have access to into your wallet, like they were different accounts, and then you can connect them to sites. So that's a fun pattern. And it's neat because now you can use sites that are AI powered that don't need a backend. So I think there's potential in that. Adam Atala from OpenSea had a startup that was trying a similar thing, Window.ai. I think he paused it though. I don't know, maybe it's too small to be a business, but it might not be too small to be an extension for a wallet. Um, and yeah, so once you have an AI in the wallet, then there's just a question of like, what are the things it might want to do? And people can just write a function for each one of those things. And so I think we're in an open experimentation season where, people they're gonna try a lot of things. There's gonna be some just like trade on the news type stuff. And in those cases, you're gonna want to say, what's your trading budget? What are the terms for this? What's the duration? So I think we've got two really great ingredients for that. We've got extensions in the wallet, and we've got a granular on-chain permission system. Between those two things, we can have agents in the wallet that are getting selective readable permissions. So I think that we're putting the right wood on the fire for this, and I think that kind of time's gonna eventually churn out the most effective use cases for this.
And I think it was towards the end of last year, you launched a Solana meme coin as an experiment.
Oh gosh, yeah,
Um,
I sure did.
and I think you initially bought maybe $500 worth, and suddenly that was worth 200 grand.
Yeah.
Um, paper valuation at the time. Did that sort of change your thoughts about the sort of activity that's sort of happening within the Solana ecosystem and how much sort of passion there is there?
I don't know exactly what it like. There's a lot of lessons I took from it because the valuation change I think is very much is the best part of the story. Um, the other thing was that so I did a little experiment. Also, I like sold a little and then bought it back. And in this like 2 minute lapse, there was like it was like I think I sold like a quarter of what I'd had or something. Um, and yeah, there was like instantly like a pitchfork mafia and stuff, and people like, wanting me murdered and stuff like that. Totally like so like be aware people are taking it like really well, I don't even know if they're taking it seriously or if it's like a callous game, right? Because as soon as somebody in one of these meme coins invests in you right? They start trying to tell you what to do, and they start saying like, "You're not allowed to sell." What that would be unjust. Now you have to. What are your plans for it? I still get like DMs. People say like, "What are your plans for the project?" I wrote a blog post that said, "I want nothing to do with that. I close it. I'm not touching it." Because people just like I'm just not trying to start. I'm not currently trying to start some new imaginary meme concept where I have to feed fuel to it like a servant for kind of no reason. Like I already have a main project. So I just have no space right now for doing that. And but yeah, it's weird. And I've seen it happen to other people where they thought they were just making a funny joke or something, and suddenly they have these like kind of shadowy presences trying to tell them what to do. So yeah, they'll run up the price. Then if you like dip into it, you get like a following. I mean, if you dip into it, you're kind of committing like this a sin of some sort, right? Because it's like either you're rugging your true believers, and you can't tell if they're true believers or not, right? It's imperceptible, it's invisible, it's the blockchain. So it's you cannot tell ever if you have true believers here, or if these are callous investors who have a very well designed playbook by which they manipulate people who are just messing around to basically drive up more credibility into the value of what they're pump and dumping anyways. Um, in any case, I found the game too opaque and not fun. So yeah, I'm not touching that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the trick is to do a Charlie Lee and sell to avoid any potential conflicts.
But he sold it. So does that
Yeah.
avoid the conflicts? He's like, I'm dumping to avoid conflicts. Oh, okay. Well, if he frames it that way, good on him for pulling it off. If he came out looking good for that.
And I know what you mean about the sort of pressure. Um, in my fantasy top days, I had a lot of people telling me to tweet harder. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
it's tricky. Did you not think, like, given your sort of like prominence in the industry, the sort of like with your position, everything, that you would get a lot of expectations around any token that was tied to you?
I mean, the text of the thing said I was experimenting, trying out the platform to not expect anything out of it. I tried to set expectations as much as possible. Like at a certain point, I mean, I guess what I should have done was create an anon account to a total alt. So yeah, it's like just because somebody's building a successful product doesn't mean they don't need to keep learning, and learning requires trying new things. So yeah, like making mistakes in public, I think is a thing that you can choose to do, and sometimes I do. So yeah, I think that was a mistake in hindsight. Like I kind of wish I didn't do it, but also I don't whatever. Like I didn't actually end up rugging anybody. I took some money out, I put it back in. I did not like the vibes of the whole scene. I got out of there. Um, but yeah, it just wasn't at all what I kind of hoped for out of crypto. Like kind of blind getting invested in by coercive strangers. Like that's uh, I I don't know. I'm just gonna venture and say that's not the future of finance.
It's certainly a big part of it these days. Um, you said native Solana support. At least MetaMask announced native Solana support coming in May. How's that looking?
It's looking good. Yeah, it's was just trying out the latest, and it's beautiful. It looks native. You can bridge between Solana and ETH. You can connect to Solana dApps. Yeah, so that's what it should be like. In some ways used this internal thing to kind of push our internal extension system further. Like I was hoping that Snaps was gonna kind of carry this all the way. And we did have a Solana snap during the Solana boom, and it was successful enough. We made a couple million off of the Solana boom, even though we hadn't built any Solana integration. But um, we wanted to really push the user experience of this stuff, make sure it's integrated all the way. So having the bridging, having the visibility in the wallet, the connections to the sites, everything looking totally first class. So we took it in house and we gave it the full treatment, and Bitcoin too. And yeah, so those are looking great. And my hopes are basically that we keep cranking out more exciting chains with that kind of premium feel, and that we keep on nudging them towards having really beautiful, readable permission systems too, so that people understand what they're doing and they're not just prone to kind of the same two activities like just transfer and allowance.
And what's it like dealing with so many chains and layer twos and like an infinite number of tokens? What's it like to sort of manage all of that?
Well, I guess I try to not manage all of that. So, I mean, the reason that we have, the reason you scale an organization, same reason you build an extension system, is because it's to manage complexity, right? So, I want to have the amount of complexity that I'm comfortable with in my wallet, and I want users to have the same. I don't want users to be bombarded with a bunch of tokens or prospects and FOMO of things they don't have. I want them to see what they have, what they care about, maybe what their friends have, but stay focused on, keep your eye on the prize. Don't get overwhelmed. You know, your wallet's already going to be a crazy enough place. The world has got a lot of volatility in it. Um, so I don't think we need to introduce more. I think keeping the wallet as simple as the user wants it to be, but then expanding to all their use cases is that's how I kind of think of managing the complexity. And so yeah, for us, kind of similarly, we're scaling the teams out. We've got the extension team. the Snaps extensibility team, and then we've got a team for each of those protocols, fleshing them out further.
Do you think there's too many blockchains? Not enough blockchains?
Um, until one really delivers the full promise of blockchain, then I guess there aren't enough. But yeah, you can probably try too many wrong things before being right. I don't know.
And I was curious, in terms of like the regulatory sort of situation in the US, now it's sort of everything's looking a lot more positive, especially since Trump got in power. Do you think the situation there is good enough for projects to feel safe in launching their own tokens?
I think that there is safety for far more kinds of token launches, depending on what you're doing. My understanding is that securities law is still securities law. So if you're trying to profit share off of something that people buy, you're probably still in kind of gray water. But my understanding is also the doors have opened very widely, and yeah, I've seen some really positive stuff from like Hester Pierce or Hester Price. I only read it. Yeah, so she's killing it. I'm so happy to see her in a position of increasing prominence and power, and having people who actually understand crypto in the SEC. But yeah, hopefully people take this opportunity to push the boundaries and establish precedents for things that we can all be doing. Maybe that'll unlock the next fun season.
And in 2022, there were mentions of MetaMask's potential token, like Joe Lubin talked about it. Is it ever going to happen?
Maybe.
Yeah, any further details, or is that it?
If we ever do it, it'll have we'll do it very carefully, and we definitely won't. The problem is yeah, speculation is almost the worst part of it, because it gives fishers an opportunity to prey on users. If we ever do it, it'll be advertised directly in the wallet. You'll be able to find a link directly in the wallet. You will not have to find some account on social media that you've never heard of giving you a link. It won't be a text message. We don't have your phone number. It won't be an email. We don't have your email address. It will be in the wallet. It'll be on our main website. Use the channels you already know to find communications from us.
Okay. And then finally, what are you most excited about for the future of crypto?
Yeah, doing fun stuff, having a less oppressive world, having friends who aren't terrified by their lack of employment, having people who are doing more things that they want to do, funding more science, unlocking better well-being, thriving, flourishing, longevity. Yeah, eventually some space travel. Yeah, maybe some community-run space travel where it's non-coercive and done in a way where people are happy to be doing it and aren't just getting worked to the bone.
Cool. Well, that's all we have for today. I want to thank Dan for joining this episode. And as a reminder, our newsroom works tirelessly to get you accurate, informed crypto news. If you want to stay ahead, read the blog. Thanks, and see you next time.
Thanks, Tim.